guys, Howard here with Slow Blues Guitar Solo number 2 in the series. I hope to do many more, and this is designed for beginning players or those of you who have even been playing for a little while, maybe even a year or so, okay? So beginner or post-beginner. And if you haven't checked out solo number 1, I would urge you to do that because that's a nice setup for what we'll be doing in this particular lesson, okay? So we're going to be in the key of E for this one. And we'll be stepping it up just a notch, okay? We're going to do hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, bends, all that kind of stuff. And we'll also employ some double stops, which I will explain as we get into it. But first things first, let me just play the solo for you, and then we'll come back and go through it lick by lick, riff by riff. And also the backing track will be provided for you at the very end of the lesson, so you can just play the solo yourself or learn how to improvise using the scales that we're going to cover, okay? Here we go. So let's jump right into it. As I mentioned earlier, I'm using some double stops. I won't go into great detail about those here, but I'll let you know which chord I'm playing them over. But if you want to get into that more, check out my lesson, Double Stops on Guitar Explained. Simple and easy, okay? They are wonderful little devices to add to your playing, okay? So first of all, let's talk about the 3 scale positions that I'm using for this. I'm in the key of E, and I'm using an E blues scale in what I call the open position, meaning you're using a lot of open strings. And you can see it on the screen right now. All right. And along with that, we'll be using the octave position for that, which is a pretty standard minor pentatonic shape, but with that flat 5 in there. So I call this the box position since it's in a nice little box up here. And that's 12 to 15 on the 6th string, then 12, 13, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14, 15, 12, 15, 12, 15. So we'll be using those 2 scales together as well as the linear fingering for that scale. So this is all one scale, just an E blues scale. So you can see the linear or long form version of it on the screen. Those are the 3 scale positions that we're using for this entire solo, okay? So let's get into the very first phrase. And it is played like so. Very John Fogerty, if you will, right? And you can use whatever fingers you want for this. I used my first finger out the gate, but you can use your second finger as well. The main thing is that when you do that slide from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret on the G string, you've got your fingers in that shape, right? Because you're going to play 3 on the B string and then the open E string, and you want all those notes to ring together. And then basically what we're going to do is repeat that phrase an octave higher, but continue on with it and add a bit more color. That's a great technique you can use in any of your solos. Play a phrase in one place on the fretboard, drop it down an octave, raise it up an octave, and repeat the phrase. Even if it's just note for note, it keeps things kind of interesting and it gives the listener something to latch on to. So we're going to play this for the second phrase. So that's a longer phrase, but you can see it's the same out the gate. Or very similar, right? Once again, that's a great thing to add to your playing, just the concept of that. So you can see the tab up on the screen, but let me play that phrase for you nice and slow. And then for the next phrase, once again, it's the same idea, maybe playing off of the tail end of the phrase you just finished, and then creating something else from that idea. So here's this third phrase, nice and slow as well. So once again, kind of a question and answer type approach, which is always really effective in your solos. And then we do a more or less classic blues phrase. We start off with that classic, right? So let me just play this one nice and slow. Right, lots of bends. With that one little double stop in there. And for the next phrase we have so that's where the big double stops come in. And again, I won't go into a technical explanation of them, but they happen over the B7 chord. And so they come right out of that B7 chord. And again, in my double stops lesson, Double Stops on Guitar Explained, you'll get a full rundown on how those things work. But let me play this for you nice and slow as well. And thus we begin the next 12-bar go-around. And then we've got a classic Hendrix or SRV type open position lick, and it is played like so. Right? So let me play that nice and slow, and we'll talk about that hammer-on pull-off lick as well. Now, the most important thing about this lick is, once again, that hammer-on pull-off phrase. You want to play it as evenly and smoothly as possible, as opposed to kind of racing through it, right? You want it to be rhythmically paced with the entire lick. And then we have again with a string of double stops. So the most important thing about this lick in itself is that full step bend. You want to bend it and hold it. Grab the 15th fret with your pinky on the B string and then push again. And then release it. Hold it and release it. So if I play that nice and slow, it's going to look and sound like this. Now, once again, this double stop pattern is over that E7 chord. And once again, they come right out of the chord, okay? And this next phrase is once again reflecting on what I just mentioned. Playing a lick, then playing it again, but adding something more to it, right? So that it's kind of traveling along. So let me just play that one nice and slow for you. And that's a double stop at the end right there, coming right out of that E7 chord as well. And sort of continuing that train of thought, we have, right, double stop at the end again, right over that E7. So we've got the two double stops on the G and the B strings on the 14th and the 12th frets. And those are played very staccato. It's not like it's, but you can play it either way, right? That's fine. So here it is slowly. And then we have the closing phrase taking us to the 5 chord, to the 4 chord, and finally ending it, okay? All right, so that travels through the B7 to the A7. I'll just play that one nice and slow. This is the same phrase that you found in the previous lesson, right? But just with a little bit more activity. And then for our closing phrase, we have okay. So nice and slow on that one as well. And that last phrase as a note is kind of a rockabilly style lick, employing once again the idea of double stops. So there you go with Slow Blues Solo number 2 for beginning players or post-beginning players. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll run the solo by again right here with the on-screen tab going by in time with it. And then as mentioned earlier, the backing track is at the tail end of this video, okay? So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you'd like to support the channel, simply become a member for less than a penny shy of $5 a month, right? You can support the channel and all that goes on here. So anyway, thanks so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.